VHS surfers, surfs up. I'm Matt. I am a VHS collector currently residing in a small logging town called Cedar Woolley, Washington. It's about an hour north of Seattle. I started collecting tapes in 1997. On my 13th birthday, my Aunt Debbie got me my first tape. It was Night of the Demons Part 2. And that kind of changed everything. That propelled me off into the VHS stratosphere. At that point, I just started going to all the, Sam Goody's, Suncoast, pretty much anywhere that sold VHS tapes. And I amassed quite a bit. I mean, quite a bit for the time. It's for, a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. By probably 2005, I had about 200 tapes, maybe 300. So DVDs, right? The picture quality is better, audio is better, they're more compact, okay? They're more compact, they're easier to pack around than these. So I, like an idiot, I sold off all my VHS tapes in favor of DVDs. I was that guy. And now I feel like an idiot for selling off a lot of really good tapes. I try not to hang my head in shame over that. Yeah, I sold off all my tapes like an idiot. DVDs came, they went. Blu-rays came, they went. Probably like 2012, I was at a Goodwill and, walking around and I seen up on the shelf was a movie I was very familiar with that me and my brother used to rent all the time. And it was Pray for Death, Sho Kosugi, martial arts masterpiece right here, baby. Pray for Death, this very one. I seen it and I was like, holy shit, is that one of those VHS thingies? She was like, yeah, it's VHS. It's $1. Sold, take it. So I bought it, just like something to look at, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I was going to put it up on my wall. I wasn't even sure. I put it up on my shelf, my bookshelf, and I was sitting there looking at it for like 2 weeks. And I was like, fuck. It's like, shit, now I kind of want to watch this movie, So I went back, picked up a VCR, and when I picked up the VCR, there was, I was like, well, shit, I can't just buy a VCR and have one tape, so I might as well go buy a bunch of tapes, right? It makes sense. So I went through all the tapes that they had, and they had all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all the Friday the 13th, all the Jean-Claude they had like 6 or 7 all those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies that mattered, right? Like Cyborg and, Bloodsport and all that shit. And so I fucking scooped those up, took them with me, loaded them in the truck, got out of town, and that was the beginning. That was the start of the fever where I had developed the sickness for VHS collecting. And that's where it all began, baby. I like collecting tapes because it is me holding on to some sort of like fragment of my childhood, I suppose. They're all just like these little tiny plastic time capsules. And it just like trapped in everything in that time, the fashion, the speech, everything. It just was like this little time capsule, And within that time capsule was a bunch of people that just wanted to make the best movie that they could. And sometimes they had the best intentions. Sometimes they just want to make money. Sometimes they thought they were making the Citizen Kane of horror movies. And 9 times out of 10, they were definitely not. But they attempted, they tried. They put in the work, and they, and it shows. It shows, That's why, I prefer 80s slashers to any slasher nowadays, because they were just significantly better back then, and it's because they dared to be bold. Well, that's one part of why I like collecting tapes. Another part is, just me holding on to my childhood, Maybe it is a Peter Pan complex or something. I don't know. I can't explain it. I'm 37 years old. It just takes me back to a time where I could sleep until noon, wake up, microwave some nachos, sit on the couch while my parents were at work, and watch really bad horror movies, Watch Slumber Party Massacre for the 300th time. I roughly own... No, I know how many I own. I own 668. It's too short of the number of the beast. So I thought about parting with 2 tapes just to keep it evil. But I can't part with anything. I'm a hoarder. Can't do it. Everybody knows Maniac Cop. Everyone loves Maniac Cop. Nobody knows about Psycho Cop. What the fuck do you know about Psycho Cop? What do you know about Bob Vance Refrigeration? Killing Fools. Psycho Cop. I'll never part with these. These are awesome. If you haven't seen these movies, I highly suggest you do it, you know. A lot of slasher movies kind of flew under the radar. I have a feeling these are definitely one of them because I hadn't seen them until I was in my mid to late 20s. These are masterpieces. I will never get rid of these. Next up, I went to a Goodwill about 4 or 5 years ago, and sitting on the shelf, sandwiched together like peanut butter and jelly, were these 2 tapes, Newly Deads and Hollowgate. I had never seen these. I'd never heard of these. It's City Lights. They're a fucking masterpiece. I took them home and I popped them in, and after 30 seconds I had to pull my girlfriend in the room back. We gotta watch this shit. This is gold right here. These will definitely get buried with me. FYI. So don't ask to buy them. You know, I don't know. What's rare to you might not be rare to me. You know? You might get a copy of Friday the 13th, and that might be the closest thing to horror that you found in your region that year. To me, Friday the 13th is pretty common. It's as common to my region. But in my region, what's rare is Nail Gun Massacre. Look at that shit. It's cheaper than the chainsaw. A very penetrating story. It is a very penetrating story. It penetrated my heart. I love Gorgon Video. Bay of Blood. Mario Bava. That dude's having a bad day right there. Splitting headache. Predecessor to Friday the 13th. You know, a lot of the kills were blatantly ripped off. And that's that. That's that for my rarest, what I consider rarest tapes. I have a lot more what some people might deem as rare tapes. I don't know. Maybe The Hitcher 2 is rare to you. Maybe The Butcher Boy is rare to you. Maybe Bridge to Hell is rare to you. I don't know. I like tapes that I love to watch. I don't care how cool they look, you know? My Grail tape from day one. I don't give a shit about any of these tapes, okay? I'm just gonna make that clear. I don't give a shit. I do give a shit. I love these tapes. They're my babies. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to talk shit about you guys. I love you all equally. But above all these, if my house catches on fire tomorrow, I grab this motherfucker right here. House of Death on Video Gems. It's what I want. It's what I was after from day one. And I got it. Shit, I was probably 12 years old, and I was going through... Well, me and my family were on vacation. We had stopped. We were probably about 100 miles away from my house, and we had stopped to fuel up, and right next to the gas station was a mom and pop store. And so I naturally beelined it straight to the horror section of this mom and pop store, and on the shelf was House of Death, sitting in all of its glory. And from that day forward, I vowed I would own House of Death, and now I own it. So ha ha ha. I'm still in need of Night of the Demons 1, unrated, Night of the Demons 2, Night of the Demons 3, the actual tape, the legit tape, not the promotional copy with the split with Nightfall on Manhattan, Torso, Pieces, shit, I could go on. I won't. There's like probably 100 tapes I could rattle off right now, but I won't bore you to death. My favorite part of the tape community would have to be the camaraderie. The camaraderie, the willingness to dispense information amongst each other. Everyone is just so willing to share the wealth of information that they have. Probably 30 or 40 of the tapes I have, I bought off Facebook, and I got them for a really good price. It was no eBay prices on these tapes. They were very generous sales. So Everyone's, you know, sharing the same story. Everyone's kind of cut from the same cloth. We all have that same riding our BMX bike through the pouring rain and the, you know, just rent three tapes for $3 for 3 days. We all got that same story, you know. It's cool to hear those stories because I relate to all that. Yeah, and VHSurfer for giving, you know, us nerds a platform to where we can nerd out on all these tapes, you know, because my parents, my friends, my family, they don't want to hear about Chopper Chicks in Zombie Town. They don't. I'll give them ear beatings about it if they ask, but I won't. If they start the conversation, like, I'll give them ear beatings about it. But you know, they want to fucking talk about tiramisu or, you know, folding napkins or I don't know, whatever the hell they're into. You know, this is a great community where you can like talk about all this shit to like-minded individuals. And yeah, that's VHSurfer, man. Keep up the good work. About 4 years ago, I was in a flea market. This flea market was probably the most flea-infested flea market I'd ever been to. One of those places like you see the fucking tornado whipping around of asbestos and fucking poop particles. And I was just like trying to cut through there and holding my breath and not trying to breathe any of it in because I didn't want to take 10 years off my life. And I'm like wading through the fucking air, and up on the shelf in a distance was a shape of what I knew what the fuck it was. So I storm over there, and sure as shit, man, it was Midnight Video, gruesome twosome. All the colors are there. No tear, just wear. But what do you expect? This 30-year-old tape. $20, man. I couldn't get that $20 bill out quick enough. I was shaking. I handed it to her, and then I ran out the door like I stole it. That's probably the biggest score I got. I mainly collect horror. It's like 80% horror. I have some action, some comedy, some wrestling tapes. I got a whole shitload of like hard rock and heavy metal tapes, because that's my thing. You know, I got Testament, Tankard, Sepultura, blah blah blah. I don't trade shit. I don't want to trade shit. I keep everything. Well, no, in the early days I traded once. I had a double copy of Elves. I put it up on Facebook. Within seconds, this dude came correct. He dropped down like 30 pictures of, like, he's like, what do you want? I'll take that one. Well, that one was The Night After Halloween on Magnum. Newest tape I've acquired. The Deadly Intruder, Thorny Am I. Danny Bonaducci. Holy shit. Danny Bonaducci, the Dooch delivered on Deadly Intruder. I can't say it enough. The Dooch. Holy shit. Check it out. Deadly Intruder. It's good. The Academy seriously overlooked this one. That's all I'm saying. First tape I ever owned was Night of the Demons Part 2. Like I said, I do not own it anymore. It is off in the VHS stratosphere. Hopefully one day I will find it. It will be brought home to me. But in the meantime, whoever has it, I hope they're enjoying it. And that's it. That's all we got. Hope you've enjoyed looking at all my VHS tapes and the stories of which I've told. But that is all. VHSurfer, signing out. Adios.